Governor Bobber, I like good day, doctors.
George Allen here. Good day, doctors.
Go!
You're watching Dr. Politics.
They're Dr. Politics. He's the one to see. Breaking down the news with sharp analysis. From Congress halls to campaign trails, he tells the truth when all else fails. They're Dr. Politics. Dr. Politics. Exposing the spin, the lies and tricks. Dr. Politics. Dr. Politics. He calls it straight, no politics as usual. Love from backroom deals to primetime fights. He sheds some light and sets things right. Debates, elections, policy. He cuts through all the DC sleaze. Oh, Dr. Politics. He's got the facts. Dr. Politics. No holding back. Dr. Politics. Go away. Dr. Politics, he's got the facts. Dr. Politics, no holding back. Dr. Politics.
Hey, how you doing, everyone? Good evening. It is Friday, June 20th, 2025. June is almost in the books. Walking around. Busy week this week, Don. A lot of stuff in the news and a lot of fun stuff happening. We've got everything from Iran. Looks like we're about to rain down the hellfire and brimstone on Iran after Israel has. I'm not sure. President Trump said 2 weeks. Honestly, it's 2 weeks too many if you ask me. But how's everyone's week?
Good.
By the way, breaking news. Starting June 30th, Costco is going to open 1 hour earlier for people that have the black card. I like that. It's about time.
I thought you would enjoy that, but my wife said that was a policy they'd had a long time ago apparently, and they did away with it. So, it's good to see that because you kind of need a reason to to pay the extra. I mean, you get the 2% rebate, to offset the cost of the extra part of the membership, but that will make a difference. And I'll be curious to see what that does to kind of the store traffic flow initially.
I really hope we don't have any of those grifters who come in, try to come in at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock with the regular membership and try to say they got the black one. I can see people starting to spray paint their Costco cards black.
Well, I mean, it'll be interesting because, they've got, they've made that announcement. They've got the signage outside the store, inside the store and whatnot. We now have the scanners to get in. But I do kind of wonder, it's kind of like with the senior hours, how many people will try to see if they can't get in early. And, it is going to put a little extra pressure on the employees who do the checking. They're watching the scanners to make sure. I assume that, I don't know what's on the other side of the scanner. I assume they're going to make whatever tweak they have to say is that, it'll come up and showing executive or whatever.
Or I think when we scan in to go in the beginning, it should be able to detect it's an executive card or if it's
or I guess maybe, or at least maybe beep or something like that.
Yep.
When you don't have the right card. So, yeah.
I want alarms to go off when somebody tries to go in. I remember when they had senior hours.
You're going to card shame them. Oh no.
I remember during the pandemic, senior hours were for seniors, not for these whippersnappers who come in there. Please, if you're under 60, if you're gonna come in there, have the good sense to have gray hair and limp a little bit.
Okay, I'm glad. Yeah, from the guy who actually went in during senior hours and was not 60, right?
Yeah, actually, I may not even have been 50 in the early days. No, I was 50. I was 50.
Yeah.
Because the pandemic. No, wait a minute. Hold up. Pandemic started 2020
So yeah, no, I mean it's
or
I'm
2020.
glad they do. I mean, this yeah, for David, this is probably a first world problem for you, David. It's not something that actually affects your life, but for Dwight and myself, it is potentially
Just
a
think how
regular
much easier it's
thing.
going to be, to go in. You don't have to deal with all the card sharing people who share their cards with other people and buy for their entire neighborhood. Uh, I mean, have you ever gone to Costco's on a Saturday? You see people with 2 carts or 3 carts.
Yeah. See, I try not to go on Saturday. I do occasionally, yeah, because the my gym doesn't open until 8 o'clock on Saturday, and I'm
Hmm.
there usually for a little over an hour. So by the time I'm done,
Hmm.
Costco is getting close to being open, and the gym
Yep.
is and Costco are less than 10 minutes apart.
Yeah.
Uh, so this is going to be a big change because basically when I'm done at the gym, if I want to go ahead and stop by Costco, I can go ahead and do that and walk right in. Um, but yeah, I mean, I've been trying to figure out the traffic flow at Costco, and it's kind of like, opening, there's just that massive swarm of people, right? Um,
Yeah.
and then
Well,
it just becomes
right,
throughout
'cause,
the day.
you know, and it's
But
like,
I've seen midday and kind of late afternoon. It's not necessarily as crowded.
yeah.
With the rainstorms that we've had, I've gone a couple of times after that, and it seems to have hollowed out the store a little bit. Um, we're now in basically into summer vacation. I mean, in terms of school is out, so we were
Mhm.
at a Costco over in the Columbia area or whatever, and you know just lots of kids, you know,
Yeah.
and that always slows things down.
Yep. And then you have the parents who have the little toddlers who think it's really cute when their toddler is scanning at the self scanner. It's not cute. Stop it. I don't like it when you do it at the Giant or Safeway. But Wegmans is opening this week, too, next week too. By the way, Don, did you know that?
Oh, the one in Rockville, the
Yeah,
long-awaited one in Rockville. Yeah.
yeah, the
Well,
24th. Because we have open
they've
on
got a
Wednesday.
brand new Trader Joe's across the street, basically. So
Do they? I thought did they close the one by Micro Center?
no, what they did was, you remember the Dawson supermarket?
Yeah.
They took over the Dawson supermarket
Oh, okay.
space.
You're talking about by the Metro. So this is the Wegmans is going to be by Twin Brook Metro.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. That's right. That's right. They're not that close. That's right. Yeah.
They're close to the other Trader. There's a Trader Joe's.
Yeah.
Not you can
Yeah.
walk there from there. Yeah. I
Yeah.
remember when
So
there was no Trader Joe's there. Remember we actually I think I want to say a couple times we went to lunch over by that movie Tuesdays there when CompUSA was out there.
I'm gonna, since you mentioned Trader Joe's, I don't know, David, if you've been to one. I'm going to give them, a 10 out of 10 or better because their checkout service is the best of all the grocery stores or any store that I've ever been in. They have they actually have plenty of cashiers, and they get you through they get you through quickly. You're not waiting around looking for something. You get in the line, you're in and out pretty quickly, even when somebody's got 20 items in front of you.
And I'll push
Everybody-
back a little bit. I like Trader Joe's. I think their stuff is great. I don't like their circulars. Do they have like some aversion to using pictures? Why do they have to? Why, you got and the print is small. If you don't read the details of what it is, you got to put on reading glasses and all. It's just the damn pictures, frankly.
Yeah, you mean those little paper things that they say?
Yes.
They haven't mailed one to me, or I haven't seen one of those in a long time.
Well, I haven't seen one in years either. But
Yeah, I mean, I'm just, we basically go in, our number one item at Trader Joe's is Mandarin chicken. So we
they
buy
used to.
they basically say they've been holding the price on that for like 20 years, kind of like the Costco hot dog. and
Or the Costco pizza.
yeah, and we use that a lot for entertaining. It's like, my wife is kind of like, don't have to recreate anything. Just go ahead and buy something and heat it up and then do the thing, and it'll work just as well without all the extra fuss and muss.
I think one of the benefits, Trader Joe's around Christmas time, they got these peppermint cookies that are really good.
Yeah,
And
they're. I mean,
their breads are really good too.
yeah, they're just an interesting store because you have to kind of go. It's a little bit like Costco in the sense you have to go. You have
Mhm.
to go kind of frequently to see what else is new because they do change some things in the store
Mhm.
that something you might have really liked for a long time might not be there the next time.
They used
Uh,
to have garlic French fries, which they don't have anymore.
yeah.
Back when
So
I used to love bagels, they had really good bagels and breads there, and their fresh mozzarella was really good too over there at Trader Joe's. My issue with Trader Joe's is on the front side of Microsoft, there's never any parking on that side, and it's getting that way on the back side too. But why is everyone there in the middle of the day? I bet those are commuters that are parking their cars and taking the metro.
I don't know.
I bet that's what it is. Because there's no signs that says, "Hey, you're not allowed to park here."
I don't know. It is kind of odd. It's kind of funny though because it just seems that the Trader Joe's in the area, the one that just opened in the Rockville Town Center
Hmm.
area, the one that's on like up by Congressional, and
Hmm.
even when they were in Darnestown, and even when they were over in Montgomery Village,
Yeah, that's a Patel Brothers.
yeah. It just seems like they always manage to find these shopping areas where the parking lots are tight.
There's
You know,
one in Silver Spring. There's a Trader Joe's in Silver Spring. That parking lot is a nightmare all the time. It's right. The Choice Hotel is usually right across the street. And I remember I decided, just stop in there before my meeting over with the Choice folks. I couldn't find parking. I just gave up. I gave up on parking there. There's they've got a what do you call it? They got a California tortilla there too, which is good, but you got to remember to tell them don't put in that foo California food in your burrito like cucumbers.
well, shout out also then a shout out to California Tortilla because it is a local operation.
Are they local?
Headquartered in Bethesda, they just
Huh.
celebrated. They're celebrating their 30th year in business. Um, so congratulations to Cal
So why are we
Torts.
getting foo California ingredients in there?
They
All right,
they
I do.
they had a great birthday promotion. I mean, okay, so we eat at Cafe Rio, which is
Uh-huh.
which came out of Utah years ago,
Hmm.
and California tortilla is cheaper, but they also have a smaller burrito, for example. But for their 30th birthday on Wednesday, yeah, on
Hmm.
Wednesday, they offered three or four, I don't know what it was, different things off the menu, burritos and stuff, bowls for $5. Okay, that's
Hmm.
less than half price. And like, okay, you got me. I will drive there because then I go to Chick-fil-A and
Well,
got my tested out my peach frosted peach lemonade and like I was
the one
very
thing I
happy.
like about what I love about California tortilla, as well as district tacos and any place that has those Coke machines where you can mix your own drinks, that I will go out of my way to go there because of those fountain places. Also, a lot of those fountain places, they all serve Pepsi crap. And I don't
Okay,
understand why.
so Coke versus Pepsi. Where are you?
I'm Coke.
You're Coke.
Yeah,
Yeah, David, are
Pepsi
you?
doesn't taste
Do
right.
you have a favorite Coke versus Pepsi?
I guess Coke. I don't drink
What about
cola.
you, Don? Are you Pepsi or Coke?
So I was somewhat agnostic about this, except that I kind of leaned more towards Pepsi because Coke, the people at Coke, the people running Coke for years were so liberal,
Hmm.
and so it kind of sent me towards Pepsi. But now, and I don't drink a lot of soda and stuff like that. But when you eat at Costco, uh, and then there's a place called Raising Cane's. Raising Cane's has Coke products. Costco has Pepsi, but Costco's going to switch over, right? And I realized that when I started drinking Diet Coke, because that's what my wife likes, I was like, wait a minute, Diet Coke versus Diet Pepsi? Diet Coke wins hands down.
Yeah.
So
Well, I mean, Coke has a nice. I mean, there's a weird aftertaste with Pepsi.
I think it's just a little too sweet or something or other. I mean, soft drinks are. I mean, their soft drinks by their nature are generally sweet, but
Yeah, Garrett.
I didn't think there was going to be a discernible difference between Pepsi and Coke, and now now in my old age, I think there really is.
And by the way, Don, then there's those people who like RC Cola. There you go, Coke or Pepsi.
Yeah,
RC Cola.
Look,
where do you buy RC Cola?
Okay, yeah, look, my mother drank nothing but Diet Right when I was growing up. Okay.
Was that a Pepsi product or was that?
I don't even know who. I don't know. Does anybody? I don't know. I don't know who made Diet Right at the time. I mean, there were so many different kinds of soft drinks.
It was a big national brand because Lee Majors used to push it. He used to do the commercials for it.
For Diet Right?
Yeah, $6 million man. He used to do that. It was with him and Farrah Fawcett, and yeah. Let me see if I can find it on YouTube. But anyways, I think we're boring Dave with all this food talk.
Oh yeah, that's all right.
Yeah.
We're making Dave hungry.
Now it's being manufactured by Dr. Pepper. So Diet Right still lives on, thanks to Keurig Dr. Pepper.
I
That's
think
funny.
Dr. Pepper. I mean, that used to be like the little engine that could.
Yeah, so that's interesting. I mean, yeah, sometimes these products kind of get, they
Does Stephen Seagram's own Dr. Pepper?
They wind up being kind of orphaned, and then somebody else picks them up.
Hold on a second. I'm going to share. Here it is.
8 pounds.
Lose 8 more.
8.
Everybody's got a diet right. It doesn't matter who you are. It's gonna be a tough fight.
Not right, salt free. I'm avoiding salt. She's impressed.
Everybody's got a diet.
Diet right.
It almost sounds like Randy Newman.
But it's like I said, I remember Diet Right. They used to do free samples of Diet Right at.
Okay, yeah. So that was an RC Cola product. Okay, that's why I was just trying to look here. Okay.
Huh. Is RC also owned by Dr. Pepper Keurig now?
Yeah. So yeah, but the Wikipedia page said that they discontinued in 2024. So RIP to Diet Right though. So it looks like you can still buy some on the internet. I don't know what's going on there. Maybe some people stocked up.
You can still buy Hydrox cookies on the internet too. Did you know that? Remember Hydrox?
You can buy a lot of stuff that has been discontinued or has low production. So.
And I'll say, Hydrox tastes better than Oreos. So Dave, are you a Hydrox or an Oreo guy?
I don't really eat either, really, but I guess Oreos, I guess.
Hydrox was the original. You know, Hydrox was the original, and Oreo was the knockoff. Because basically, the people at Nabisco they were mad because the Sunshine Brothers were beating them with their Hydrox cookie. So they reversed engineered the Hydrox cookie.
All right. So is this the pre-show? We're going to go on talk news.
Yeah, we're done with the food segment.
What do you think, David? Time to talk news.
And by the way, Costco's. I think we give you like about 15 minutes of free advertisement. Think about being a sponsor and smash that like button.
As much as we talk about a lot of other stuff, sometimes you think like somebody should pay us for promoting their products.
I know. It's like. I mean, we gave Diet Right a lot of free advertising just now. I mean,
yeah. If there's anybody out there like, okay, what the heck was Diet Right?
or RC Cola for that matter.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Well, RC
Right,
you
look,
can still find. RC you can still find. It's a giant.
Really?
Yeah,
I remember
I
RC was
find
the
our
first.
RC a giant at the in Falls Church.
Here's
Huh.
something for you. RC was the first soda manufacturer that you could actually buy as cherry cola.
Well,
They were the
RC,
first ones to do it.
yeah,
Yeah,
RC like Coke. RC is out of Georgia, Columbus, Georgia. RC is,
I know Columbus, Georgia. I know where that is.
and
I've driven through Columbus.
and Coca-Cola when it first came out was known as Confederate champagne because it was right there from Atlanta.
Yeah, but wasn't it a Civil War veteran that invented Coke?
I don't know, but after the Civil War, I think Coca-Cola was founded.
But Coke also has medicinal properties to it. I mean, even without the cocaine in it.
Oh yeah,
If you, it's a
settles your
big thing.
stomach, I believe.
Yes, I know. Listen, I hope you're listening, Secretary Kennedy. Medicinal
I
properties.
think he would ban everything I eat.
Well, he's
I
already-
may be wrong, but I think.
By the way, I was at my favorite Safeway in Kensington. I noticed they were taking some stuff off the shelf. Was this preemptive?
I don't know.
Because of Dr. Fauci's about to ban red dye number 2.
yeah,
Because they were
I don't,
taking the red
I
Gatorade.
I don't know about Secretary Kennedy there. Sometimes, I mean, I think we knew there was going to be some things that would probably be problematic, and we're definitely seeing some of that. But
Now, correct
but-
me if I'm wrong. Isn't beef tallow a saturated fat? Is that a trans fat?
I don't know.
Maybe-
I think for the left, the trans part's okay, but the fat part apparently is bad.
No, but it's like I remember that's the reason they got rid of cooking in animal fats because that was trans fat.
Maybe.
While so what do we? So we're
Well,
going to now go back to the future where
Well, that's
By the
why.
way, I think this will be banned also because I think it does have red dye number 2 in it.
Well, I bought a bunch of moon pies the other day, a box of the mini moon pies, banana flavor. I
pies.
didn't know they did banana
I
flavor.
never liked moon pies. if you
I
ask
saw
me.
the banana. I've seen the banana flavor in stores.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked them; they were good. I just couldn't stop eating them. The other thing I'd say about Bobby Kennedy, though, is he's always wearing those, and this also ties in with your claim, things coming back, and he's always wearing those thin ties. I'm wondering if those were his father's ties, because you see Bobby Kennedy, his father had those thin ties.
I like those thin ties, Frank. They were in the 80s.
Well, I thought 60s and 70s. I thought we went with the
Maybe.
fat. Well, 70s, I think we started going with the fat tie, and then the
Yeah.
80s we moved back in the center. And the
That's because-
60s,
and,
50s, you had the thin ties.
They come and go though, right? I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes the skinnier tie is in, sometimes the wider tie is in,
But
and it goes back. It goes back.
RFK
and
Jr.
forth.
always wears those thin ties. I just wonder if maybe that's an homage to his father, or if those are actually his father's ties.
Then there was this time when bow ties were making a comeback.
Yep, yeah. You know what I was told? The reason architects wear bow ties is when they're drafting, the tie doesn't get in the way.
Yeah, that is why.
Yeah. Okay.
I do. And also, that's why their sleeves are always rolled up, because when you're drafting, if your
Yeah.
sleeves are rolled, you drag the lead across or the ink.
Okay.
Yeah, I had a professor that explained that to me. many
Yeah,
moons
but
ago.
someone told me that over the weekend about the bow ties for the architect.
And but yeah. So, anyways, now that we've gotten our food and
Like George Costanza, I always wanted to pretend to be an architect.
Oh, I don't have my T-square around. I showed you. Oh, actually, I do have my scale right here.
But but on Kennedy, the thing about a lot of this stuff when you're trying to do the when you're dealing with all these things about this is good, this is bad, ban this, ban that, is it? In essence, it's like what's left for us to eat or to cook with and whatnot. Don't ban the seed oils, get rid of the dyes, do all this stuff. It's we've heard for a long time about this causes cancer, that causes cancer, and whatnot. I mean, and there's probably always a little bit of truth in some of this because we do eat a lot of, or have at least available to us, a lot of processed or ultra processed food compared to when we were younger. But on the other hand, it's kind of like, well, what am I supposed to eat? Just sit around and eat fruits and vegetables and skip the red meat and or whatever, and just become a
Skip the cheesecake.
vegetarian. I don't know. I mean, it never cook with cook only with what, maybe olive oil or something like that.
No, olive oil is bad too. They say.
So
They say. I mean, I remember when canola oil was just the miracle oil, sort of.
So for us, we're just like, look, we're going to eat whatever we're going to eat. We do try to, we are trying in our household to, keep the sugar and the salt intake down a little bit, but
Well,
but
I
that's as good as we can do.
I think though, and not to stray into, I'm not a nutritionist, but I think the problem isn't so much the trans fats or even the fat. I think the bigger problem was probably all the sugar in the corn syrup that we were consuming, and that the fat, certain amount of fat is good for you. But they went after trans fats so hard as the real problem when they probably should have been thinking back years ago. In terms of that sugar just being so, and I probably consume so much sugar. They put sugar in everything. They put sugar in everything.
By the way, the dyes, if they take them out, do you really want your cake decorations to look like it was washed out? Like Whole Foods, they make their cakes, right? And they don't use any artificial preservatives or dyes or anything like that in their cakes, right? But the cakes, here, let me share my screen. There's a guy called Matt Mitchell on YouTube. He's a food guy. He does this thing about foods. Here, let me show you something. Okay, you see he's got these cakes, right? This is a cake from Costco's. Look at the different colors. The cake he's holding is a Whole Foods cake.
I like an 8-inch round cake that says "Happy Birthday, Matt," and they're like, "Okay, well, a couple of things. Number one, no bright colors. We don't believe in happiness. Number two, we don't do round. That's not a legitimate shape. Number three, we're not writing Matt. We're not writing biblical names on this Whole Foods cake. That's what they did. Enjoy hell.
Whoa, hey, you took that way far.
When you get past competitor number 4, you got to really ramp it up.
Recommend the guy's channel. It's pretty good.
There's a cake place in Baltimore, which they had their own show. It's kind of famous. What was that called?
Yeah, Cake Boss. Charm City Cakes.
Yeah. So I remember that the ex had she was a big foodie, so she'd watch like the Food Network. And they had a whole thing on that shop. So.
Yeah, he's your typical Marylander liberal, by the way. He's not a.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's not a Republican. He's a crazy liberal.
Okay. Probably most all of those folks.
Well, the woman that died, I thought, wasn't she a Republican, or am I thinking of someone else? That Food Network woman that died. She died.
Yeah, I doubt she'd be a Republican. I don't know. But,
I'm thinking of what's that woman? Her kids now have the show. She got fired from Food Network because she made some comment.
Oh, the Paula Deen?
Yeah. Paula Deen. Yeah. Her boys are still on Food Network, I think, doing a show, but she's not.
I can't watch that network. It makes me hungry. Yeah.
You know what's always funny is I didn't even realize I got all these comments coming in. Hey, Susan. Let's see. Corn oil is not that bad. I've used corn oil to pop popcorn, and popcorn it pops bigger when you use corn oil. But now I just use Orville Redenbacher, microwave popcorn. Does anybody pop popcorn the old-fashioned way, like a popcorn popper? Not a hot air popper, but
no. I saw a Jiffy Pop at the store.
Yeah, I grew up with Jiffy Pop.
Do they have it microwavable now? Do they have like a microwave Jiffy Pop? They probably do, because I think everyone's gone to microwave popcorn. But here's something.
Pretty much so.
Do you remember back in the I guess it was early '80s. When did microwaves really get popular? Was it the early '80s or mid '80s?
I think early, right? Early 80s, I think we had them.
They
Maybe
used
mid.
to they used to have a frozen milkshake or hot fudge sundae you could buy. You microwave it, it heats up the sauce, but keeps the ice cream would still stay cold. You know, and I was thinking, why do you have to put the whole thing? Why just give them a little hot fudge in a separate cup and you can heat it up by itself in the microwave? Then you pour it on top of your ice cream. I never understood that, but yeah, that was one of the weird products. Yeah. There you go. Very right, Craig. Eat kosher. Oh, she does. That's very cool. I didn't think anybody did that. I thought everyone just hit the popcorn button. By the way, you know what's funny is when you get a college kid, you give them a bag of microwave popcorn, but the microwave doesn't have a popcorn button. They're like, I can't use this microwave. Oh, kids today. They can't hit the 3-minute button when they put the popcorn in the microwave. It's the same thing. But yeah, boy, we've really gone off the rails today, Don. 30 minutes, and I think we got
Dwight.
sort of. We got.
I wonder how that happened.
We got sort of. Well, it's because we talked about HHS and Secretary Kennedy, and I don't know why I want to call him Dr. Kennedy, but I think I should start calling him Dr. Kennedy just because it would irritate him.
So I just out of curiosity, do you think that that Kennedy serves 4 years, the entire Trump term, or
Yeah.
will something derail it, and they may have to ditch him or something?
You never know. I mean,
Kennedy.
Yeah.
I think he stayed. Not to interrupt you, Dwight, but I don't know. I think he stayed. I think Trump's still pleased with him. I don't see him at
Yes,
this point
Trump was
leaving.
also very
I
pleased
thought
with-
Hegseth might have to go, but apparently he's kept Hegseth. And then I had heard Trump was not happy with the military parade. He didn't think that it was enough people there, and I think he blamed Hegseth for that. I don't know.
opposed to the oppressive heat and humidity, right?
Oh, for
That had nothing to do with suppressing the turnout.
I don't know, but they had the No Kings marches on the same day. I don't know. There's something about the left. They hate Trump, of course, but also the military. They never like military parades. It always kind of bothers them. I know we don't have a great tradition in America of military parades, but I don't think that's a big deal. But
You
yet
know, the last
lefties always
military
hated
parade
the
was
military parades.
before the one we had this weekend. The last military parade was George H.W. Bush celebrating the Gulf War victory.
Okay, Trump didn't do one in his first term.
Nope.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, the left has always hated him. I think Trump, one reason to do it is to celebrate. Well, this is the 250th anniversary, so it is unique on that.
I think we should do military parades on 4th of July.
Yeah.
But did you see some lefty make some comment about, I tell you, we got these young kids that write for Direct Line News now, Don, and they're on TikTok. Ian's telling the story about how this woman on TikTok says the only way you talk to your relatives is by taking 2 cans, putting them in your socks, and twirling around and hitting them over the head. I believe that's called murder. You know, when you hit somebody, because cans are heavy, you know. And she had one of those, remember fruit cocktails? I mean, we seem to be going back to food, but remember those fruit cocktail cans that were like way high, like this wide? Yeah. She was putting those in there. It's going to kill somebody, hit somebody with it. But
I ate so many fruit cocktail things as a kid. Did
they make those anymore, or did they stop?
I don't know. Them? I mean, we pretty much don't buy much in the way of canned products anymore. So, and we definitely don't buy canned fruit stuff.
Yeah, you notice people seem to be buying more fresh fruits and vegetables opposed to canned or even frozen. Yeah. I remember the freezer section used to have a lot more variety of frozen vegetables and stuff like that. Now it seems like everybody wants to buy fresh opposed to, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I think the whole organic movement, kind of pushed a lot of people into that. They want to look for fresh fruits and vegetables. They understand now that buying canned fruit and heavy syrup is not really eating fruit very
Well,
much.
if you buy Del Monte, they don't have those heavy syrups. They're actually I want to say they might be using spring water to put the stuff in. I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I thought the syrup was really good when I was a kid. So
It wasn't salty. It had a salty taste, and I remember that.
Dwight, after this show, you might be a guest on a food podcast.
yeah,
Yeah, I might be.
somebody's going to invite you to do that.
Another day, I am not. I don't have highbrow food taste. We've got this.
I don't either. But to piggyback on a point that Don was making, a lot of times I used to eat canned food, and a lot of canned food. The thing about canned food is I'm just wondering if there's a lot of sodium in it, and if it's all that healthy. Yeah.
But
And someone said that the corn is really just sort of fat. Well, it's all sugar, kind of. And corn is very or sugary or something about the same as eating a lot of sugar.
I never liked corn. My feelings on corn is why eat corn when I have popcorn? It tastes better.
Yeah.
Like I didn't like corn. I didn't like corn on the cob.
You get to summertime and it's like corn on the cob. Ay.
That's too much work.
Yeah, but it's good.
It's good. It's good, especially you barbecue it, you put it on the grill.
Right.
By the way, Don, one of our young writers that writes for us, I've known him since he was like 1 year old. This kid, until he was about 5, had a three food menu: grilled cheese, PBJs, mac and cheese, and it was apple juice, and it was not too cold, not warm, but just right. And
I think that's Goldilocks' diet.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So we're still kind of getting off the
Yeah.
track here.
I think the final thoughts will be for the politics.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah,
Now,
let's talk about Iran. Iran, we're about to. The Israelis have done a really good job taking out. They control the airs. I think Iran is running out of missiles, and I've heard the reports that Chicoms are shipping them some missiles.
Well, I don't know. I wrote a column earlier this week that opposing the Bannon Carlson wing, and that is that we're not talking about another Iraq here. Trump's not talking about regime change. We're just talking about denying Iraq a nuclear weapon. And I think that's in our interest. So I think it is an American first type of thing. Maybe Israel can complete the job and we aren't needed, but there may be a chance that we're going to have to bomb that one installation.
Let me push back a little bit. A safe world is America first. Okay. If America doesn't do it, it just doesn't get done.
Yeah, but what I meant is whoever runs Iran can run Iran. My point was we just can't let them have a nuke.
No, we can't do that. We got to make sure whoever runs Iran is our guy.
As long as they don't get a nuke, they don't have to be our guy. As long as
he does have to be our guy. Because if he's not our guy, he's going to be their guy, and that's not good for us.
Well, their guy is. I don't want it to be a mullah, but the mullahs can exist as long as they're not a threat to anybody. And if you keep them without a nuke, they won't be a threat to us.
No,
if they want to destroy their country, go destroy your country. You run your country however you would like.
No,
but if it comes to a nuke, then no.
We don't need a puppet or a stooge running Iran.
No, I'm just saying somebody like we bring back the the royal family to run Iran. That'd be great. We rename Iran.
We did that. It didn't seem to work. We did that, and then we got
no. What happened there
was
Jimmy Carter and the Democrats pulled the rug out from under the Shah, just like they did to Hosni Mubarak in Egypt when Barack Hussein Obama pulled the rug out under.
Yeah, well, I think the Shah leaving was his own screw ups.
Yeah,
I don't think it was
for
us.
treatment.
And I don't think we're going to continue to prop up the Shah or any other leader.
I'm a big believer
they
in
screw up, they screw up.
Operation Ajax was great.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Shah's son or somebody. There's somebody who's who would like to come in and take over. He sees an opening, but I'm not sure that that's the best thing in the world.
I think they're ready for like a constitutional monarchy, like the British Empire, where you have the queen, and then
I
you
say
have
let them.
the.
I say let them decide it.
Yeah, look, I mean,
We're
what
the
Israel,
grown-ups in the room, Dave. We need to
Israel's
kind of
done
make
here
sure
has
we don't
been-
make them. We're the grown-ups in the room.
Well, or you can just say to Iran, "Here's your new leader." I just don't know if that's going to work.
You give them enough guns, it can work.
Well,
But for Pinochet,
Well, that's Iraq. Remember, we did the same thing with Iraq, and that was the what was the government we pushed there after Saddam?
I tell you, the biggest problem we had in Iraq, and I was talking to somebody about this just the other day, we should have done like we did in Japan. We should have had a General MacArthur type running the country for 4 or 5 years after, kind of teaching them about democracy or at least strongman politics, so to speak.
Well, Dwight, you're a neocon. You're now exposing yourself as a neocon.
I've always,
Yeah.
Dave, being a neocon is not a bad word, frankly.
Did it break your heart
because
when the Weekly Standard went out of business?
It comes down to this, Dave. If America doesn't do it, sooner or later, it ends up on our front porch.
Yeah, that is the neoconservative position. That is Bill Kristol's position.
And it has always come back. Look at
That wasn't Bob Taft's position. That wouldn't be Edmund Burke's position, but it was.
But Bob Taft was an
Bill
isolationist.
Kristol's position.
And here's the thing. I'm not one of those Monday morning quarterbacks, 20 years later, 25-year later quarterbacks on 9/11. All these people, they beat up on George W. Bush about what exactly would you have done? Would you have let Iraq get, not Iraq, but Afghanistan get away with those troglodytes from hell, take out the World Trade Centers and the Pentagon?
Well, I'd go after Al Qaeda, certainly, and I'll bomb them in wherever they are.
And we have
in terms
intelligence.
of Afghanistan, the nation building was not a success. Okay,
Yeah,
we can
I mean,
safely
look,
say
our record is
not
pretty spotty.
Huh?
Right? Our record is pretty spotty when we do.
I point to the Philippines. Under Ferdinand Marcos, we had Air Force bases there. And Cora Aquino more or less kicked us out when she came in.
In the case of Afghanistan, the Taliban's taken over again. They're back in charge.
Yes, they have. And the problem is because Joe Biden didn't know. Joe Biden kind of screwed that up. Why did we leave Bagram Air Base? We never should have left Bagram Air Base. We never should have just, cut and run.
Well, we probably could have kept Bagram, but Biden chose not to. But the thing about the Afghani government, we had Karzai, we had all those others that we kept trying to groom. We had Abdullah. We kept trying to groom them to lead and run the country, and it was a failure. No doubt about it. No doubt about it.
You have to go through maybe a few people.
It's going to be a failure in Iran if we decide to pick their leaders. We can pick the leader of Iran. You can try it, but I think it'll.
We need to have a pro-America Iran. They have to be pro-American. Otherwise,
I would say I wouldn't go that far. I'd say you can't have a nuke, but no country. You don't have to be pro-America if you don't want to be pro-America. I'd prefer it.
No, they have to be pro-American because what's going to happen if they're not pro-American, inherently pro-American. We're going to be back in the same situation in 20 years, and we'll be back. Israel will have to bomb their new nuclear facilities all over again. There'll be a whole new
tell them they have to
generation.
be a pro-American, they will not be. If you say you got to be pro-American, I think they're going to become anti.
You can't shove that down their throat.
Oh, I think if we drop enough bombs, bomb them into the Stone Age, that we could. Just kidding. Yes. But I think
Afghanistan is in the Stone Ages. We didn't have to bomb too much there, and they're still.
I think that. Okay, I think Iran. I think a lot of the people there do like America. They do like the freedoms here. I think they would have a pro-America.
If we bombed them.
If we bombed them, or we basically take out their nuclear infrastructure. Frankly, I think Israel should be bombing power plants too. Frankly, you got to break the will of the people too. Remember, war is a messy thing.
Well, we're not at
we
war.
leveled Berlin. We leveled Leipzig. We leveled those German cities and Nazi cities, we leveled them. We did
Yeah,
not even come.
but we didn't do that because we wanted a pro-American government. We were at war with them.
Yeah.
I believe we did want a pro-capitalist government because
Well, East Germany the Soviets took. West Germany
Yes.
became a
and
democracy. Times they were pro-American, times they weren't.
You know whose fault that is? That is FDR's fault because Eisenhower said we could have been on the Polish border, but FDR, in his infinite wisdom, wanted to meet in the middle for some symbolic thing, and that's how we got the Iron Curtain, and that's how we had to do the Berlin airlift. Again, no other country could have done the Berlin airlift if it wasn't for us. Nobody can mobilize like we can mobilize. When the world is in trouble, they all turn to America. Remember that movie Independence Day? After the aliens had leveled Washington, New York, San Francisco, LA, and all the other major capitals of the world, the Americans finally sent a telegraph a couple days later, hey, get your jets in the air. We got this thing. We're going to take down their shields. What does the British general say? It's about time America did something. See, everyone wants us. Everyone waits for us to do something.
Yeah,
Nobody
they shouldn't do that, and we shouldn't do it.
Nobody does it.
We shouldn't do it just because and I don't know why I take pride in that. Take pride. There's a problem somewhere, and that's up to us.
I mean, remember the Serbian War? The French were saying, "Oh, we will commit the might of the French army," but the Americans keep getting in our way. France, go for it, go, commit the full force of the French army to go into for the Serbian War.
Well, I wouldn't aspire.
I mean, we're here to defend our country and our interests, but we're not the world's policemen. We're not supposed to go in there.
It comes down to
do all these things all the time. I mean,
I'm not saying we're gonna police the world, but I mean, if we don't, we basically are. We're basically the good guys in the world. Okay, we're like the Avengers. We're like the X-Men. And everyone else is like the Brotherhood of Evil, or name any, or the Legion of Doom. Name your villain group. And if the Avengers don't stand up to it, nobody else does.
Yeah, but we're not the good guys in everybody's eyes. Okay, I mean, around you go into the Middle East and it's a powder keg, and so you can't. You're not going to win all of them over. This just a straight bombing strategy to bomb them to hell or whatever, just for the reason. That's not an effective strategy. I mean, our interests are aligned with Israel to try to make sure that we have a chance here to pin back and then effectively get some change in the government in Iran. But we don't necessarily have to do anything but support Israel. We'll give them a bunker busters and get some job done. But we don't need to install a government. We don't want to.
We don't have to, but we should make sure that whoever's there is pro-West.
Well, Iraq is much smaller than Iran and less powerful. And what do you think about our nation building in Iraq? Was that a good thing, you think? Generally positive?
I don't think we should have done nation building. I think we should have just set up a government, basically like kind of like we should have just
set up a government. I mean, we did set up the Iraqi government.
No. I mean, I think Paul Bremer. Yeah, he made some mistakes, but I think Paul Bremer should have stuck around for 5, 6 years, 10 years. Newt Gingrich once made this argument, saying, we'll have troops in Iraq just as long as we got troops in South Korea. If we had put kind of the presence, and here's the thing, the Iraqi people were with us in the early days. They were with us in the early days until the media started turning on this. The media started fueling. They didn't need to share those pictures of Abu Ghraib. They didn't need to tell people about waterboarding terrorists. That's when we started losing the hearts and minds. When the American media at CNN, CBS, ABC, NBC, they were showing all these, oh, look how horrible. And then you got 60 Minutes doing, you got Leslie Stahl talking to a family in Iraq through a transcript. Oh, yes, those American bombs blew up my house and now we're homeless. We got no food. I'm sorry. No, just stop it. Just stop those propaganda machines.
Well, it seems that it's thousands of American lives and hundreds of billions of dollars.
And that's because of the media.
Possibly find how
the media is the reason why we had the high death count. They're the ones that basically took Abu Ghraib and made it go around the world. They're the ones who took all those stories about waterboarding and made things tougher for our soldiers there.
So in Iraq, they're watching American TV.
No, but Al Jazeera was covering the Abu Ghraib stuff. Where were they getting the footage from? CNN, CBS, MSNBC. It's not like
Well, I think the media is biased.
the media actively
but
roots
I
for
don't
the
think that
defeat
had
of
anything to
America.
do with it.
See, Dave, the media actually roots for the active defeat of America. They were giddy when Hanoi fell. They were downright giddy.
Well, I'm sure they do, but
they were downright giddy.
I'm sure. I'm sure they are. I don't think they can create a reality. They're not going to be able to go against reality. And in Iraq, it was a mess and a disaster, and everybody knew it. There's no way, even if Leslie Stahl, with all her wonderful talent, wanted to try to spin it as a positive, it wasn't going to work.
I don't think Leslie Stahl would have done that.
Look, even
her brilliance, she's genius.
Look, to me, I mean, even if we put a government in place, the problem still, to me, is one of the problems still going to be is corruption. We cannot stop the corruption. This is a long-standing problem of money that we send overseas that just disappears. It goes into the pockets of people and not to the people that we wanted to go to, not to actually do the things we wanted to go. And so Iran, if we do anything in Iran, it would be another black hole in that sense. I mean,
I'm not saying we put boots
at
in the ground.
this stage of where we are, we have a $7 trillion annual budget. We have $36 trillion in debt. We do not need to be spending a ton of money doing these things.
I'm not saying we put boots on the ground. I'm just saying we need somebody there who likes America.
Well, that's fine, but fine,
has our value.
Likes America. That sounds like a puppet.
Right, that's what it does. It sounds like a puppet. I mean, look.
We had a Cold War, and we had puppets all over.
If you really believe in freedom, let the people there in the country just determine what they want. Now, this is a tricky situation, sometimes because you still have those forces. I mean, we spent all that time in Afghanistan, but the Taliban was always out there knocking on the door, just kind of waiting for the opportunity to come back into power. And we gave them the opening, and they took it, and it was a complete mess. And then you're like, well, what did we spend all that time for? In doing that.
My point is this. I think one, the Biden administration screwed that whole thing up.
Sure they did.
And I don't think President Bush's administration has any. I mean, Obama screwed it up too. I mean, we had Afghanistan for the most part, and Iraq was under control until Obama became president. Frankly, we kind of had a handle on Iraq. When Obama comes in, that's when we start seeing a lot more of the craziness happening. And I think Iraq is fairly stable right now. We're not seeing the daily carnage in the city, bombs and cars blowing up, I think a pro-American, basically it's kind of like the Cold War, right? We had to have our guys, they had their guys. We need our guys there in Iran, frankly, because, Iran has a large oil deposit at the end of the day.
Well, in terms of being pro-America, Canada doesn't have a pro-America leader.
No, they don't. Maybe we need regime change in Canada. Well, that's going to change.
That's the thing. It would never stop. You'd have to go through you'd have to do 100 countries to invade.
No, but Dave, Canada's going to, when they become the 51st state, what are they going to be anti themselves?
The conservative would have won in Canada.
Yes.
Trump turned that whole thing around. Trump breathed new life. That Trudeau, Trudeau was done. You're right. He was dead in the water. The Liberal Party was dead, and then Trump went ahead and basically gave them new life, and voila, they've got the Liberal Party, running around there doing whatever. And this is part of the look, Trump was also the wild card in this. I mean, he says nobody knows what I'm going to do. I don't even know what I'm going to do. Kind of thing. It's like, which makes you want to pull your hair out sometimes. But we've known from the day that Donald Trump first got elected president, for the first time,
It's a
that
different
he's
kind of
very
presidency.
unpredictable. You don't really know what he's going to do, and that I don't have a problem with that. But in foreign policy, you can't be all that helter skelter all the time. You do need to have some kind of strategy in place to try to deal with these issues. Trump, the 2 week deadline. I think this is part of a plan on his, in his mind. It's like, look, let's let's hope that Israel does enough damage that they get something, they get Iran to make some changes or do something. If not, give them the bunker busters and keep pounding away at them, and then see if we can do it. What Israel did in to Iran, is very close to what Ukraine did to Russia, in the sense of they smuggled parts in to the country, they built the drones, and then they launched them, and they targeted specific people or had specific targets, and kind of caught everybody off guard. Brilliant, maneuvers on all the way around when you can do that, and basically beat all the air defenses and everything like that. Um, Netanyahu, I think he's definitely emboldened. Trump has emboldened Netanyahu, where Biden, was not giving him enough support. I think Netanyahu's like, okay, I can probably do some of these things and protect Israel for the first time in a long time. Try to wipe out Hamas. Syria, Assad is gone. I can now go through Syria to get to Iran. So I now have an easier path to do these things, and we now have an opportunity to do some things, and Israel can come out stronger for it. But I think Trump is trying to avoid getting too deeply involved in this.
And here's something we're seeing, Don, is also, remember in the past, you'd have the Arab Street, you'd see all those people protesting the streets of Cairo and Jordan and all over the Middle East when Israel would attack. We're not seeing that this time. We're not seeing any of that stuff, because CNN would be right there covering those protests, anti-American protests.
The other thing is, and I would also say the other difference is that it looks like Israel has really gotten, and they were always strong in the Middle East. They were always the strongest, baddest people in town. But boy, their military is good, and their technology.
Well, not only that, also I think the Abraham Accords are holding. The Saudis are quiet. No condemnation, from the Saudis or the Jordanians, the Egyptians. Remember, the Middle East, you've got the big powers of the Middle East. You've got Egypt, Syria, well, not anymore, but in the traditional sense. Saudi Arabia, Iraq, and Iran, right? And we're not even seeing any stuff in Iraq. There's no, craziness. And then again, these are the people that fought a war with Iran for how many years? It was over 10 years,
8
right?
years.
The war. 8 years? I felt like long.
80 to 88.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing is that Iran is Shia and Persian, so a lot of the Arab neighbors are fearful of them in terms of the rivalry.
And remember, the Persians going back to Cyrus the Great, he freed the Jews, and you have basically, honestly, the best thing that happened to Iran is, I think it was AP or UPI, I saw somewhere where the Ayatollah, what's his name? I want to say Khomeini, but it's not Khomeini. But the latest Ayatollah is negotiating with the Russians to live out his years in exile in Russia. That's a good sign. I think if the Ayatollah flees, we can probably play ball with the military, and I think the military will say, will cry uncle, frankly.
Yeah, he can get a room with Assad. Didn't Assad go there to Russia?
Did he go to Russia, or did he go to Saudi Arabia?
I thought he went to Russia, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, you're probably Russia sounds right. I thought the Shah does not want to go to China. He can go live in China. The Chinese can put him in the Uyghur work camps.
I got to tell you though, I've never seen Trump is unique, and he's different than any other American president. But I'll give you an example. He puts the tweet out, And he told the Iranian leader, he says, "Yeah, we know where you live." In effect, and just bluntly, "We know where you live. You better." So, and then he said, "But we're not going to kill you now. I'll make no. You feel you're safe now." But so I thought that was amazing.
Yeah,
Amazing threat.
All right, look at the clock.
I know. We're at final thoughts. David, final thoughts.
That was a very spirited debate on Iran.
Yes, it was.
And Israel. I like that. That was good.
Yeah.
You two guys are.
Yeah, smash the like button. Everyone who saw that. If you want to see more of
just
this,
sitting here going like, okay, hey, whatever.
Well, check my column. Yeah, I wrote about that with the Bannon and the Carlson thing. Well, but if this is final thoughts, I'll start with this one on that subject with Tucker Carlson. You know, he ambushed Cruz with, so how many people live in Iran? Well, the reality is Tucker Carlson just looked it up on Wikipedia and then figured he'd spring it on him. But it's really a trivial question because Iran's got a fast-growing population. So whether it's 70 million, it's up to 92 million, it doesn't really matter. It's just trivia. So I don't think much of Tucker on that one.
I tell you, Ted Cruz, a lot of people.
Huh?
That's what Tucker's answer. I mean, Ted Cruz's answer. A lot of people, Tucker, more than the population of the great state of Texas.
He should have asked him how many people live in Shreveport, Louisiana. But anyway, yeah, check that out in Substack. And then the only thing I guess I have to report is Tuesday I'll be in Madison County, Virginia, with a book event.
Is that where the Bridges of Madison County?
No, I don't think so. But it's a good place, and it's also the home of James Madison. James Madison they named it after him. So his house is in Montpelier, which is a beautiful house. So it's sort of central Virginia, but there's nice places with Madison and Orange right there.
Another book tour.
Yeah, we're discussing the book. Oh, and a bit of news. A lady she was flying to Florida. She said she took my book with her. So, and the second one's only 169 pages. She can probably do it on the flight, but she said she'll probably read half of it on the way to Florida, half of the way back. So,
you're not reading anything because there's so much to do in Florida.
Yeah, no, she's busy, but she said when she's flying, she'll read it. So we'll see what happens on that. But other than that, that's about it. And check the Substack columns, which I'm cranking out. And I appreciate it. Today's the first day of summer, and it was kind of hot. So I don't belong to pool. I have a friend who has a pool, so I'm trying to give some hints, and maybe she'll let me come over.
It gets hotter next week, Dave. 100. Next week
we're about to head into that heat dome. This is not going to be fun.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's not. So I got to take a dip in that pool. So, but other than that, doing good. And back to you.
Okay, Don, final thoughts?
Final thoughts. Yeah, I mean, I think it's good that the Trump administration pulled back on some of the ICE raids. You know, he's exempting hotels and farm workers. They may have to look at some other areas and things like that. That, you know, on the one hand, I think, you know, trying to round up the illegals, but especially if they've got a criminal element, that's all well and fine. But they have swept up some other people that were perfectly, you know, they were here just fine and all of this. So, you know, and as much as I hate to say it, I mean, there's a lot of these people that are kind of integral to our economy right now. They've been here for a number of years. They've been working in these jobs and these industries. And if you do deport them, you've got to figure out a way to operate without them. I guess you can figure that out at some point, but it has shaken some things up. But it's interesting, you know. I mean, these raids have been one of the excuses, I guess, for the No Kings demonstrations and things like that. But I think we've all probably seen friends of ours who have participated in some of the pro-Trump stuff, and they have come across the No Kings people, and a lot of them really aren't sure exactly why they're there. So, which is very typical of the left. Is that, you know, you can round up a lot of people to go and protest someone like Trump, you know, and No Kings, but they really don't understand even what they're protesting.
Well, remember, Rush Limbaugh always said the left is just a coalition of people.
Yeah,
they got.
but when it comes to, I always thought when it comes to conservatives, they tend to be more passionate about what they're doing. They usually know why they're there at a rally, no matter what it is or who it's for. They know but with the left, between having people you pay to go out and do things and whatnot, you sweep up. I'm almost at the level where I'm thinking like, I may start to unfriend people that I know and that I really like for a number of years because they've just gone kind of insane on the no kings thing. I'm like, you don't even know what you're doing. You have no understanding what you're doing. I saw something the other day with some, crazy, post. The left is circulating about how the election was rigged for Donald Trump, and I've got a couple of friends that are that I've known for decades, and they fall into this, and I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. It's like this story has got so many holes in it, that you can't. But they're so desperate to be so anti-Trump and think that things are think that their side was wrong, that they'll buy into anything. And I don't like conspiracy theories on either side of the spectrum. Those are, you just wind up with a lot of crazy people. But this kind of stuff is just, none of these things does any good for anyone. Trump, I love how he loves attention. He's got that ego. Fox News talks about a poll that was not favorable to him, and what does he do? He turns around, he scorches Fox News. He'll probably come back and love them again later when things get better. At least on the surveys with the economy lately and the ICE raids, those things are turning negative against him, which I'm not surprised. I think that's kind of expected.
Well, you get a steady drumbeat from the other side about.
The media has a lot to do with that, the way they play those stories, right? Like you've talked about everything else. The media has a very big impact on terms of our voters' perceptions of how things are going. And then a couple of real quick things. Trump, I really wish Junior and Eric would quit grifting so much on the Trump name. And
did he just launch something recent, a phone or something, or a phone service?
Yeah, this phone thing is just nuts. $499 phone, supposedly going to be made in America. They've said they could have maybe factories in these areas. It's like, you're not, and there's going to be available in a few months. This is not going to happen. This is not even close to reality. You can't make a phone that basically has iPhone specs and say you're going to sell for $500 and have it made in America. It's not going to happen. Okay, it's Trump was all over Tim Cook and Apple's like, you got to make your iPhone in America, otherwise we're going to slap you over the stairs. So like, look, the supply chain isn't going to, you can't do it right away, and even if he did start to onshore those things, it's not going to work very well because the wages and the skill sets are not too much in wages, and the skill set is not here to do that. Where are you going to put the factories? It's just unrealistic to do things like that. Please pick your battles wisely. I know you're the president of the United States. I think they probably took a financial hit during his first term, but it seems that they're trying to use every angle, everything they can to sell Donald Trump to the public. They're not doing, it's transparent. It's out in the open. But it's just kind of like, this is just a little bit, it's over the top. I mean, between the meme coin, and all this other stuff that they're doing, the phone, all this is like, it's just way, way too much. And it also gives fodder to the liberals. And that you don't need to give them more excuses to attack you, in my opinion. But I'm just a little guy who's one of some, but not one of enough. The MAGA people are going to be the MAGA people, and they probably don't care one way or the other. But I think it's just a bad look. And then for our Virginian here, and David is congratulations on the state of Virginia, that July 1st you'll have more cameras to watch your speed and all that kind of stuff.
I don't like it.
I'm assuming that's because of the legislature and who controls the legislature.
Yeah, I
But
guess.
Don, at least they're not adding sales tax on vending machines.
Yeah.
Maryland is gonna when you go and buy your by the way, vending machines are expensive. You know at NASA it's like a bag of chips out of a vending machine or a bag of almonds is over $2. They used to be 50 cents or
Yeah.
75. The most expensive was $1.25. And now it's like
Well, I
two and then
mean, nowadays it's kind because look, so you got to pay somebody to drive the truck to go to the location to refill the machine. The cost of the products is already way up since the pandemic. So
Thank you, Joe Biden.
you're paying that employee probably a lot more than you were before to service your vending machine. It is just a snowball effect of all of these things that comes on there. I mean, we
The
how many
price of
times
gas.
how many times we talked on this show about just the rising cost of product X, Y, and Z. It's there. I mean, it's happening. So anyway, that's it. Back to you, Dwight.
Well, we're gonna have a snack tax in Maryland, starting July 1st. So get ready. Also, we're gonna have fees on tire recycling. I think it's $5 for new tire for recycling. Is now going to be the recycling cost, and I think it's like something. There's another charge when you buy tires. There's another fee for that. There's a fee for everything, because Governor Westmore, not General Westmore. He has to have it his way. We got to pay taxes, and I do want to issue an apology to Senator Padilla. I'm sorry, I had no idea you were in the United States. Furthermore, I had no idea you'd been there for almost over 5 years. Senator Padilla, apologies. I just thought you were just another one of those California loony state senators, but you're just a California loony U.S. senator.
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry we didn't know who you were.
Neither do a lot of Californians.
And now he is known. This is his 15 minutes of fame, basically.
Yeah, that was like
right. And is it not true, guys? I mean, in general, that people like Padilla and all these people, these Democrats who've been arrested and have been out at all these protests, at these hearings and whatnot. Is this not political theater? I mean, they're doing it for their 15 minutes of fame. This is not about that they even understand what the issue is. It's like they get camera time, and it looks good for them to be hauled away because then they can rail against Trump, ICE, all that
fascism.
And his speech on the floor of the Senate.
That was
his speech on the floor of the U.S. Senate. Oh my!
Yeah.
What a lunatic!
Yeah.
This guy, Alex, why don't you pass some significant legislation so we can know that your United States Senate will stop confusing you as being a state senator, but I mean, face it, California.
Well, he could have gotten, not to interrupt your time, but he did get his questions answered. He didn't have to show up. He didn't have to make a big stink of it. He
did exactly what a Montgomery County councilman who's running for county, Will Jawando, was pulled over by the local police here in Montgomery County. And you know what he said? Do you know who I am?
Yeah.
With an expletive also, by the way, not just do you know who I am, it's do you know who I am.
Yeah.
And that's what Padilla, how does it pronounce it? Padilla?
Yeah.
Okay. That's how, I mean, he did the same thing. Do you know who I am? I think him and Will Jawando are going to start a society of do you know who we are?
And that was Zsa Zsa Gabor's line when she got arrested, right? Pulled over. Do you know who I am? I think she did that line.
But Sasha's funnier than either one of Will or
When she slapped the police officer.
Yeah. She's actually, she did make fun of that whole thing too, which is a good thing, frankly.
Yeah, no.
And by the way, Chris Burnett, who is running for Congress in Maryland's 6th congressional district, he will be at Pizza and Politics on July 3rd. He will be speaking after our Lieutenant Governor candidate, Brenda Cham. and friend of the show, and more a friend of Direct Line, the other show, but she will be there speaking. And maybe John Myrick might show up also. But it's going to be a good show, July 3rd. If you're in town, stop by. Mama Lucia's only. And that's about it. And I must say, guys, it's for more than 6 months into 2025, I've yet to have candy.
Okay.
I wonder if I could do next year with cookies and see if... By the way, have you guys ever noticed this? If you don't eat sugar for like weeks at a time and then you have a cookie, then it's kind of like you can't just have one cookie. You got to have another cookie after that and another one after that. I did notice that I had those Vienna finger cookies. They're really good, Father. If you've never had those Vienna finger thin cookies, they are the best cookie around. They're better than Chips Ahoy and Oreos and Hydrox cookies. But
it's just that it's so hard to avoid sugar in the diet unless you really make a big effort. Because
I think if you cut out
noted earlier.
But I think if you cut out the basically the big S sugar, so to speak, and it's not so bad, then you're getting sugar in white flour and whole wheat and stuff like that. I think even whole wheat flour has sugars in it, But it's not, it's cutting out a little bit of the sugar, that you're surrounded by. And my last thing, I spoke in Kent County 2 weeks ago, and one way I stopped off at a Taco Bell. Don, do you know how expensive Taco Bell has gotten? Taco Bell used to be try and spend $5. You get a nice meal and still get change back from $5 back in the days. Like when we used to go to the Taco Bell up the road from the old AIM headquarters, $5, like you still got like almost $2 back in change. And now it's like it might cost you $10 at Taco Bell.
Yeah, everything's much more expensive. McDonald's, Wendy's, Taco Bell.
The value meal's gone. Hey, does McDonald's still have the $1 drink special they do over the summer? Did they bring that back? Like any size?
I don't know if they've ever brought back. I know Wendy's is doing one, but I don't know about McDonald's.
Wawa's has that too, by the way. And
sometimes the fast food places just all have like $1 drink on Thursdays or something like that, and free fries on Friday with a purchase. And
it's kind of like Wacky Thursdays, or no? What show's Thursday promotion where gas is like 3 cents cheaper? Was it Wacky Thursday?
Yeah, no, Shell. I think Shell has a promotion. I think when they knock down the price of premium gas by like 20 cents on a Thursday or something like that.
By the way, the biggest racket is when Shell has those signs of the price of gas and you think, oh, that's a really good price. And then you get there and it's like, oh, you got to get a car wash too.
Yeah, got to watch out for those. Yes, that's for sure.
Yeah, but that's pretty much it. We should add a segment at some point. What irritates us irritates us around us.
Yeah, that can be your final thought.
I know it can be. There's a lot of things out there. It's like, why can't we put knives in dishwashers? You can buy like a really good knife and you put it in the dishwasher, it gets ruined. Why is that? Why do they get dull in the dishwasher? But anyways, we'll see everyone next week. Have a nice weekend. Take care. Good night, everyone.
Let's go down to Missoni, where Italian cuisine shines. Let's go down to Missoni's, we'll have a good old time. Homemade pasta at Missoni's, sauce is fresh and fine. Good friends gather at Missoni's, join us anytime. Taste the pizza at Missoni's, the flavor what you'll find.